Welcome to the Holistic Success Show. I'm Elizabeth Lozano.
And my name is Dr. Robert Puff.
And on this episode, we're going to be interviewing a quite amazing woman who is the top real estate agent in Beverly Hills, but she's also not only successful with that, but she also has a successful marriage of 39 years and also 3 wonderfully successful and amazing kids.
And we're also going to have a couple episodes describing in detail what do you do to express your anger and not get out of control, because a lot of people fear that. Another part will be actually how can you scream and get well. It's amazing.
And we're also going to be answering questions from our viewers. Our first question is going to be, how do you balance it all? How do you balance work, family, friends, and even taking care of yourself?
And for a lot of the listeners, the last question is going to be on, what if I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't sleep? What do I do?
Thank you, and we hope you enjoy our show.
Thanks. I want to talk about a concern that many people have, which is called going postal, or really taking your anger out at objects or at people that can be very inappropriate. We see it on the news, we've seen the Columbine experience. And so what happens there is people get afraid of anger. They're fearful of what would happen if I express my anger. Will I go postal? But the interesting thing that we've learned, and we've interviewed many people after events like this happen where they go postal, where they're really hurting someone else intensely, they may be killing people, is that we almost always find, not always, but almost always find that they're very reserved, very quiet people. And they're a lot like Mount St. Helen. They explode, boom. And with that explosion, they hurt a lot of people. So what I try to teach people is, take your anger out on a regular basis on objects, not on people, not on yourself, but on objects like a punching bag or taking a bat to a couch. And what you'll find is you'll get better and you won't hurt anyone. And I want to use an example first to describe what I mean by that. And I want to use an example of what I mean by that. Years ago, when I was beginning my training, I worked at the VA hospital in Sepulveda. And there was a man there. He was a Vietnam vet. And he had all this anger inside of him, but he never expressed it because he was convinced if he expressed his anger, he would just go postal. So I ended up convincing him to we got a room, and I got a bed mattress, and I got him one of those soft bat things, and I held the mattress, and he just started wailing away on it. And he was convinced he'd tear down the whole hospital if he let go of any of his anger. And sure enough, I'm holding it, and I was a little nervous because he was very convinced the whole hospital was going to be destroyed, and I was holding the mattress that he was going to be hitting on. So I thought, I hope this goes well, but I knew it would. So I'm holding it, and he starts wailing away on it, and about 30 seconds later, he's exhausted, and nothing bad happened. So the opposite is true. Growing postal happens when you don't express your anger. If you keep it inside, it builds up, and you become like Mount St. Helen, and you explode. Instead, if you can find a way, and I give about 100 examples in my book, Anger Work, of how you can express your anger and still be kind. And let me use another example here. Elizabeth, in this next video clip, is going to show you, she's going to hit this couch. And let's watch her hit this couch. And what you're going to find with this bat, she hitting this couch, watch how what's going to happen is she's just going to get tired. So as we watch her, she's hitting the couch, and she's hitting the couch, and she's expressing her anger at this couch, not hurting anybody, but she's taking out her anger at this couch. And look at how she's getting tired. Imagine yourself doing this. You're going to get tired, you're going to get exhausted, and you're going to stop. And you're going to feel better, and you're going to heal. And what a wonderful way to express your anger and not hurt people, which is what anger work is all about. And I really want to encourage you to learn about it and give it a try.
And now it's time for a question from our viewers. Our first question is from Karen H. She's from San Clemente, California, and she writes in, how can I balance work, family, and time for my friends and still keep my sanity?
Karen, that's really the premise of this show. What we're trying to teach in all these episodes that we have and are going to continue to have is finding balance, finding holism in your life and fitting it all together. And you have to start with what's important to you, what really matters to you. Because what matters to you is what's going to get your time. Mm-hmm. If what matters to you is your family, then you need to make that a priority. Then you make sure you're home in time to spend time with them and love them and enjoy them. But if your actions are saying I'm at work and you spend a lot more time at work than you're at home,
which a lot of people do,
right? So really, then you're really saying that work's more important than my family. So what I like to use as an analogy of a pyramid. We're like a pyramid, and at the bottom of a really solid, well-built pyramid, the base is you and your relationship with God and the universe. Next,
and you taking care of yourself.
Right, exactly. And next comes your relationship, your significant other, your partner, and that relationship, making that a priority. Then your children, and then work and friends and everything else. And that's a very solid base. But for most people, instead of being like this, they invert it. It tips like this, and it's very rocky, so it crashes quite often. So work may be first, or their friends, or their spouse, and everything just falls over very easily. And so, you want to make sure that, that you have a good base there, and you spend time with that. So if you don't allow any time for yourself, that sooner or later is going to crumble. I mean, single moms that I work with over the years, they often are the hardest workers on the planet. And I really encourage them, take time for yourself, because if you don't, it's going to have consequences to it. And a lot of times they're feeling guilty. Well, I have to work and I want to see my child. Mm-hmm. But, it really is quality over quantity. So spend good quality time with your child and things will work out. So it's a sense of saying what's important. You have to pause and say what's really important. Mm-hmm. And, and your actions are going to manifest in what's important to you. So if you have a big house, but you're never home, then you're saying what's important to you is having a big home. But if you have a smaller place, perhaps you downsize, so kids share the room so we can be together more, take more vacations. Really, your message is family matters more. So you have to ask yourself, and I think all of us do have to ask ourselves, what's important? And then we advocate taking care of yourself, mm-hmm. family, your faith, exercise, eating right, just all of it fitting together. Then you have a beautiful life and a beautiful existence, and you're successful. But if any one thing takes priority, things start falling apart.
And I think it's important to point out too, because I think, you might think, well, my kids are a priority to me and I really want to put them first. And, it might sound kind of odd to say put yourself first. And we're not saying totally ignore your kids, don't take care of them. Absolutely not. What we're saying is, have you ever been on an airplane and when they're, talking about all the things to do in emergency, there's the airbag that falls down. What are you supposed to do first? Do you put it on yourself first or do you put it on your child? They ask you to put it on yourself first, because if you're unconscious, you're not getting oxygen, how are you at all supposed to be able to take care of that little one next to you? And the same thing in life, you need to take care of yourself. And often I explain to parents that I've worked with in the past too, is that, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're working a lot and you're trying to do everything you can to be there for your kids, your fuse, instead of being like this, is going to be like this. And those are times when parents, often yell at their kids or hit them or do things that they often regret because they're tired, they're just cranky, they're just in a bad mood because they haven't taken care of themselves. And so what we're saying is take care of yourself first, love yourself, make sure you're getting enough rest, make sure you're eating right, get the help you can from family members or even from friends if you need some support in taking care of your kids. And hopefully the hope is that you have a partner to help you. And I know there's a lot of you out there that don't, but find time to take care of yourself. It is so, so important. Even if it's just taking a hot bath or a hot shower, finding that time for yourself. And you'll find that fuse gets longer and longer, and you're actually better able to be there for your kids. And, I think that what Dr. Puff had said too about, the job, oftentimes it's really unfortunate. We do see that where either the father or the mother is working so much, they feel guilty, so they buy their kids things, but the relationship between the parents and their child is so messed up, because really what matters is that time with them. So really think about what's important to you and what's important to your family. And I think that is, a really good question, and it totally fits into what we're trying to help you learn here.
Another thing I like to say, it's a good thing to keep in mind. You can have anything you want in life, but you can't have everything. So, if you really want to spend time with your family, it may mean that you may not get the promotion as quickly as someone else at work. If you really want to have a beautiful marriage, it may mean your friends sometimes are disappointed in you because instead of going out with them and spending time with them, you actually have intimate time with your spouse. So you really can have anything you want in life, but you can't have everything. So it really gets back to what I started with. Ask what's important to you.
Absolutely.
And then that means that if this is important to you, Karen, if you're really being time with your kids matters to you, then something else has to give. And it has consequences. I've talked doctors into, and professionals into backing off from their career sometimes. And, you may have to work 4 days a week or taking your sick leave so you can be home. Or, there's a lot of creative ways of doing that. And that's what this show is about. So I really would encourage you to watch our show. We're going to get some, people in here that can talk about how they do it.
How they handle everything and are still successful, both with their job, their family, their relationship, and even health-wise.
Yeah, and a lot of it is just realizing, again, my favorite word in the universe is awareness. If you're aware that, I get home and I might spend 3 hours watching TV to relax, and it's like, if you do that, you say, okay, maybe I won't do that. Maybe instead I'll cook a nice meal, we'll sit down and talk, and I'll just spend some time with my family. That might take an hour. You still get 2 hours of show. But you start realizing I can actually start creating time by letting other things go. I'm going to maybe not watch as much TV. I personally don't watch a lot of TV or very little because other things are important to me. And once you decide what's important to you, then you make that the focus. But you have to decide. Mostly what you're going to do is kind of what you've been taught by the culture. A lot of it is, to be honest, brainwashing. You're getting brainwashed by actually what you watch and what you listen to all day long. So if they're telling you, you need to have that, this or that thing to be happy, and you get that thing and it doesn't work, then start reassessing and saying, okay, how do I actually not get so brainwashed, get kind of reconditioned with, what is important to me is my family, is my health. Another saying that I love, if you don't take time to be healthy, you have to take time to be sick. So take time, like Elizabeth was so wisely saying, take time to be well. Take time for your family and enjoy life, and you can still be successful. We're going to bring people on the show who are and have been that way, and learn from them and learn from us and grow. And it's a lot of work, so we can work together as a team and say, how do we as a community really have a healthy life, a happy life, and in a sense do it all, but do it all balanced.
Thank you for your question, Karen.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome this week's guest, Myron Ormonde. She is the First Lady of Real Estate in Beverly Hills. She wrote a book called From Homemaker to Breadwinner, and she's an amazing woman. She's been married for 39 years to her husband. She has 3 kids, one of which her daughter is a doctor.
Correct.
One of her son is a visual effects specialist.
He's a motion graphics designer.
Okay, motion graphics designer. And her other son is the president of your real estate brokerage,
Yes.
Ormonde and Associates.
Correct.
And so we are very excited to have her here today. On top of actually all that, I forgot to mention, every Friday she makes time amongst all the other things that she's doing to meet with her family. All of her family get together every Friday. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you manage to balance all of it?
Well, it comes with a lot of hard work. It just doesn't happen haphazardly. This is something that I have honed as being a mom. Every woman knows when she has a child that your time changes. Those 24 hours in a day then get delegated over to your child. So by juggling activities, programs, social events, homework, etc., making dinner, taking a shower, these are things that you have to figure into your life once you become a mom. And these are the skills and the tools that have helped balance me and bring me to the success level, because inadvertently I wasn't realizing that I was building skills to be able to juggle, to multitask, which most women have to do today, and still look good doing it.
Yeah, you do look absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what would you say are some of the secrets to, because you're a daughter, you're a mother, you're a wife, you're a successful businesswoman, you're an author, you've got all these, just wonderful things, and I'm sure you've got friends because you're an amazing woman, you're so
Thank
kind.
you.
We got a chance to chat a bit, and she's just so kind. So how do you balance all of that? What are some suggestions that you might give somebody to have, a healthy life, yet still have time for their friends and still have time for their family and still have time for even their job, which of course, we need to make money. So
Right.
What's the balance there?
The balance is, if I was to pick 1 or 2 words, I think the most important one is to be organized, to have a schedule. to find out when that inner voice speaks to you with the most clarity. I'm a morning person, so I get up early in the morning when the house is quiet. Every morning I get up, I have my coffee, I read the paper, and many times when the weather's permitting, I go out to my garden. I love nature and I love the earth. And I have vegetables and fruit trees and roses and flowers. Every season, my garden brings me a new surprise. And this, to me, connects me with the things that make me happy.
So you were saying in the morning you get up early while everybody's still sleeping and the house is quiet. Would you say that that's the time that you get organized for your day and that's when you prioritize?
That's exactly when I get together, because you know what? My inner voice is the most clear in the morning. Come 10, 11 at night, you can tell me anything you want. It goes out the window. I am the most clear, the most sharp early in the morning. And that's when I sit down and I say, okay, today I have to do this, this, and this. What can be put on the back burners? Because the list has got usually 30, 40 things on it. What are the most important things to prioritize that need to be done by me? What can I delegate to somebody else that's not as important? My priority are my clients, but more importantly is my family. That's numero uno. That is where my priority is. Once I know that they're all in a good place, then I figure out what it is I have to do for my clients, who, by the way, have become my dearest friends and almost family.
Oh, wow.
They are people that once the transaction is completed, they call me and say, I miss your phone calls. I miss the constant conversation that goes on every day. We need to connect. We need to sit down and make a time to still get together. And that tells me my job not only has been well done, it's been more than well done, because these are people who still want to see me and want to continue the relationship, which is very sweet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're talking about, relationships, and as I mentioned in the beginning, you've been married for 39 years. So how does a couple stay together for 39 years? What do you think? I mean, I don't want to say the secret. There's tons of things that go into it.
Right.
So can you tell our viewers some of, what has kept you and your husband together through that many years? Because, the divorce rate is...
trials and tribulations and good times and bad times. It's called compromise. It's called negotiation. It's called coming to the table and saying, well, what do we have to benefit to work this out? Obviously, we have 3 amazing kids. We have 2 gorgeous grandchildren. We have a very blessed life. Things don't always go your way. There are obstacles and roadblocks that come into every relationship. I think the fact that when I asked my husband on our way here, what is the characteristic or the strength in what part of my personality that would you say gets me through where I am today? And he said my persistence, not giving up. To me, divorce has never been an option. Okay? It's very easy to throw the towel down. And I don't care how good or how bad your marriage is, there will be times that you think you're at a dead end. And it's much easier to walk away.
Yeah.
The person that never gives up and always says, yes, I can. I think that, unfortunately, 1 out of 2 marriages today do end in divorce because people are not willing to compromise. But in general, the problems that we all face on a daily basis can be worked out.
Persistent. If you're persistent and
if you're persistent and you don't give up, and you look at what benefits you have. And I'm a big proponent of writing on lists. What's the good that comes out of this and what's the bad? How much more good or how much more bad do we have in this situation? And if the good well outweighs the bad, then you go forward.
And that's a very good point she makes. Make note of that.
Right.
What would you say is some of the keys that have made you so successful at what you're doing? Because you're, the first lady of Beverly Hills real estate. My goodness. So how did you manage to get there? What did you do? What are some just key things that it takes to be able to be at the top?
I think the most important thing is that with my persistence and my drive and my passion, those are 3 key ingredients that go into my DNA. I feel that doing what I love, being with people who I enjoy, looking at homes in a neighborhood that I understand, being an expert in what I do, bringing to the table my knowledge and the respect and the fruits of my labor are so incredibly rich. It's not just about the money. It's about the respect. It's about the happiness I bring to somebody who says to me every time they see me, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love my house. You have fulfilled my dream. Without you, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be living in this home. My kids wouldn't have what they have today. You guided me. You supported me. You listened to my concerns. You gave me the strength to make a decision where I wasn't quite sure. This to me is beyond monetary rewards. This is a gratification that speaks accolades about what it brings to the table to me. So again, knowledge, expertise, knowing what you're selling, knowing what the competition is doing, and
you said passion, which I think is really
and
important.
putting your heart and soul in it.
Because I think a lot of times people will go after just the monetary, that I want to be rich and I want to, I'm going to do something that maybe I'm not happy about,
Right.
but it's I heard a saying once, do what you love and the money will follow.
That's true.
But I think it's not just, okay, well, I like, whatever, maybe I like staying on the couch all day. Well, that's not really going to make it happen. But I think the persistence that you talked about,
Right.
because it's easy for people to give up when they
Right.
hear, the negative. You and I were talking earlier and you talked about one of the things that you don't hear is the negative. When somebody says something negative, it somehow just goes over your head.
Right.
And I think that is really important. I think actually, Dr. Puff once told me, don't listen to the people who failed, listen to the people who've succeeded.
Right.
And, not to say that you can't learn from people's failures,
Right.
because they do learn, but sometimes people fail, they fall, and they say, oh, don't try that, don't go do that, because if you do that, you're not going to make it. And if you listen to that, forget
you
about
need to listen to the positive, to know that one of the things I've always said in my book, if there's a storm, just know at the end of the storm there's going to be a rainbow.
Why don't you tell us a little bit in closing about your book that you've written, From Homemaker to Breadwinner, and also an upcoming book that you're working on?
I have been asked again and again. In fact, I went to an event yesterday for a new condominium project, and somebody who had read my book asked me when the next book was coming out. And I've been asked this again and again. And as anybody who's written a book knows, it's a lot of work, and it's a labor of love, but it's time intensive. And in my life right now, time is so crucially thin that I don't want to spread myself too thin.
Very important. Listen to that right there.
Yeah. So what I've been thinking is to write a book. I've already got the book's theme in my head, and it's going to be what is my soul, which is my family, and what has created me and made me what I think is a very rich person, which is the motherhood that I have brought to the family. The title of the book would probably be Motherhood, the Second Oldest Profession.
Oh, that's a great title.
And it will be about how to be what I believe is the most important, not profession, but the most important gift any woman can be, which is an incredible mother, role model, mentor for the future generations of the world, the earth. So,
well, thank you so much for being on the
thank
show.
you. It was my honor and
great.
pleasure.
Me too.
And
I can't wait to read your new book when it comes out.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to share with you one of my favorite forms of anger management. When you have anger inside of you, it is never appropriate to take your anger out on other people or take your anger out on yourself. But you do have another option. You can take your anger out on objects. But you do have another option. You can take your anger out on objects. And one of the favorite ones that I like is what I call the scream release. And the first time I ever tried it, I was in therapy. It was years and years ago. And I was working through a lot of stuff that I needed to work through to heal, to be healthy. And I had never in my life screamed, just primal screamed out loud. And I remember I was driving in my car. I thought, I'm just going to try this. Because my therapist had kind of encouraged me, and I thought it would be a good way for me to just feel these deep feelings that I had inside. Because I had things to deal with, as I'm sure many of you do. Things that are bothering you. Maybe your, affair that your spouse had, many years ago, or you grew up in a trauma as a child, or maybe you lost your job. Whatever you're struggling with, this is an awesome way to get that feeling out and to feel better quickly, fast, and it's really healthy. The only caveat is, the only thing I want to warn you about is that you have to watch your voice. Because the first time I did this, I was in my car and I just let out a scream. And I remember it felt so great. So I did it several times. And the next day I could not say a word. I had completely lost my voice. So just be aware of that. If you're new to it, like I was the first time, like over 20 years ago, when I did it, it was like, okay, remember you may lose your voice, so be aware of that. So what I want you to do is watch this video clip of Elizabeth, and she's going to first show it with one pillow, and watch her screaming into the pillow, because it's an awesome way, as you're watching her, to do it. You can do it at home, you can do it in an office, and if people are around, you choose more. But first watch her do one, watch her scream. And now, it's just, look how relieved she feels afterwards. It's like you can just tell it felt good. Now watch her, she'll take several pillows, because you don't want people to know what you're doing. Part of healthy expression of anger is not bothering other people, and people don't need to know your business. So then you can take several pillows, cover up your face like she's doing, and then scream into it. It's a really great way, because people, if it's enough pillows, they really won't hear you. But a couple of little tricks, even if you're nervous of that one, there's a couple other tricks that I like. You can go out into the wilderness, maybe you can go out in the woods or far away from anybody, and just scream at the top of your lungs. Another one I like for screaming is in your car, like I did the first time. Another one is in a pool. Go into a pool, go underwater, and watch. You scream underwater, nobody's going to hear you. And then a last one I really want to encourage you to try sometime. Sporting events, are like a really intense way. A concert is a great way for people to scream, because people are already screaming. So when you're at that concert, you say, hey, I'm really bugged by something. You can be at this concert, you can be having a great time, and you can be doing healing work, because anger work is about healing. So why not take that time to feel your feelings, get them off your chest, and be well.
Our second question for this week's episode is brought to us by Sarah S., who's from Boulder, Colorado. And her question is, sometimes I find I have so much on my mind, so many things I need to do and take care of, that I have trouble sleeping all the way through the night. I find myself waking up at 3 a.m. unable to go back to sleep. What advice do you have for people who have trouble sleeping through the night?
Sarah, the most important, a lot of people struggle with what you're struggling with, lots of people. But I always get back to, there's a really important thing you have to do when you wake up, say 1, 2, 3 o'clock at night or in the morning, is you got to first be really careful to not create a story. And what do I mean by that? You wake up, again, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, you say, oh my goodness, if I don't fall back to sleep, I'm going to be exhausted tomorrow, I'm going to be tired.
And I only have, 5, 4, 3,
Yeah,
can start counting down.
Yeah, exactly. Like Elizabeth said. And so that will almost guarantee you're going to be up for a long time. Mm-hmm. If you wake up and say, I'm still tired and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, but first thing I'm going to do is not create a story. You're going to look at the clock. It's best not to even look at it, to be honest. After that, or if you can even wake up, I wouldn't even look. And then just lay there. Then it's a variety of things. You have to try a variety of things that work for you. One is just, deep breathing.
Or sometimes I suggest is that, if you've got something that you can't quiet the mind, maybe get a notepad and just write those ideas that you have down. If you have a lot of thoughts of something you have to do the next day or something you have to get done, just write it down. Just have a notepad next to the side of your bed and just kind of write down what you need to write down and then set it and forget it.
Yeah, and again, it's just, the biggest thing though is, Elizabeth, there's just so many things you can do. But the biggest thing that's going to keep you awake is that story. Mm-hmm. When you start creating that story, suffering is going to follow. So why suffer? Just say, well, worst case scenario is it's 3 o'clock, I'm going to get 2 hours of sleep tonight. I may drink a few extra coffees to get through the day, and if that's what I have to do, I'll sleep really well tomorrow night. And you will.
And don't you think, too, and that's absolutely right, don't you think, too, if they were to practice maybe some of this meditation stuff we're going to be teaching you, that, doing some deep breathing, maybe listening to some relaxing music, they will actually be able to get some sort of a rest through that. And I think it might be important now to share, and I know you talk about it in some of your meditation clips that we're going to be showing you eventually, is that what has happened to the amount of sleep that you need since you've been meditating about an hour in the morning, hour at night?
Yeah, well, what has happened is that I started waking up earlier and earlier and earlier, and I would lay there and I'd say, I went to bed 3 hours ago and I'm wide awake. What do I do? And I just wasn't tired, so I just got up and I would be fine the whole day. Well, the next day I may sleep a little bit more at 6, but what I've found is my range now, and it took a little while to get used to it. His range now is about 3 to 6 hours a day, and so
I think what the important message there is that if you're laying in bed and you're really trying, let's say we're doing what he had suggested, really don't follow those thoughts. Don't suppress the thoughts either, but just don't follow them. Don't create a story out of what's going on. Just really try and focus on maybe taking some deep breaths, listening to some relaxing music.
Which reminds me too, another thing that really is helpful is, how children do really well. If any of you have children or have raised children do well with a ritual. And I think we do well with that too. So one, if you get to bed early, you have a ritual, you're going to read in bed for a while, maybe, just have a pattern that you do. And you get to bed, let's say I need 8 hours, but you're starting to read and you have 10. So you think, well, if you fall asleep and you wake up and you already got a few extra hours, it just helps. Or one thing I do, another thing that I'll do is I wake up and it hasn't been that long, I will meditate. And meditation gets you so relaxed and so peaceful, I'm ready to actually go back to bed after that. So I think it's important to say, okay, what am I going to do here? Maybe you go read for a while, maybe you you write things down, but
maybe even,
just relax.
What might help too is I've found when I've had difficulty sleeping is even taking a hot bath or a hot shower. Even if you have some chamomile or chamomile soap or lavender can kind of help. Actually, there's aromatherapy in that, and it helps to kind of calm you. They actually sell soaps with that for babies to help calm them.
Well, that's one of the theories. One of the research theories on why we need sleep is to cool our body. So our bodies heat up during the day, and we sleep to cool them down. So warming up your body. You ever been in a jacuzzi or something very warm? You get so sleepy afterwards because it makes us tired when our bodies get hot and we sleep. So, like taking a hot bath, like she said, and just coming up with something that really helps you just do calm. Even if you have to get up, do something very calming. Grab a book and read. And, reading in bed for a couple hours, it's pretty hard not to fall back to sleep. But even if you don't, because sometimes you won't, it's again during that day saying, oh my goodness, this is going to be a long day. I'm going to be exhausted. If you don't create that story, you're going to have a better day. And then the next night you say, tomorrow night I can sleep in. I'll go to bed earlier and I'll sleep in. So.
Thank you for your question, Sarah.
Thank you.
Dr. Puff and I find it important to find hope and joy in every day. So what we're going to do each week is we're going to find an inspirational, uplifting, or maybe just funny quote to help you throughout the week. So this week's quote I found in this book called Go For It. And the quote is written by Leonardo da Vinci. Every now and then go away, have a little relaxation, for when you come back to work, your judgment will be sure, since to remain constantly at work, you lose power of judgment. Go some distance away, because then the work appears smaller and more of it can be taken in at a glance, and a lack of harmony or proportion is more readily seen. So, sounds like Leonardo wasn't only a good artist, he also had some pretty good advice to give. Enjoy the week.
So on today's episode, we learned about how a woman could be very successful and yet still manage to keep her marriage together and raise 3 wonderful children. We learned about anger and how it can actually be a healing tool. And we learned about how screaming could actually be something wonderful to get us better. And we're really grateful that you can be part of our show. We had questioners that participated in our show. And if you want to learn more about what's happening next week or what we're doing overall to help make our world a better place, we'd love to have you visit our website at www.holisticsuccess.net. That's holisticsuccess.net. And send us your questions. We will keep needing them. We'd love to have you be part of it. And again, thank you for being part of the show.
Thank you for watching the Holistic Success Show, the TV show for people who aim to be happy, healthy, and successful.